All right. Thanks for listening and subscribing to Learning More. It's Russ with you. And I know it's like, who is this guy, right? I've been gone for an entire summer. Took some time off, and I've been actually, over the last couple of weeks, been putting some interviews together. And I decided that this one right here is going to be my debut episode for our next season. Yeah, season 3, which is crazy. It's like, yeah, doing this show. It started out as kind of an offshoot of another podcast, and now entering season 3. I want to thank you all. I noticed the subscriber counts like went up like crazy over the summer. So thank you for those of you that subscribed. For those of you that didn't, come on. Why not? Please do subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to. I really do appreciate it. It really does help so that we can get, different sponsors on the show, things like that. And maybe I could produce more episodes. Maybe this could just become my full-time gig. That would be awesome. And it's in your hands. So please do subscribe. All right. Enough talking about me and the show. I will say that I have missed you guys over the summer, and I love the feedback and stuff like that. So please do send more feedback over to me. This show, I feel like you're going to have a lot of feedback for, because I am talking with a Hollywood hypnotist. Yes, he has the coolest domain in the world as well. Hypnotist.com. Please do go check it out. I am talking with Kevin Stone. Kevin, thanks for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me. Debut show. Wow, I'm very honored. I'm feeling like a little bit like those Simon Cowell, and I'll share. I'm going to share that with you for a second.
Okay.
So I was in the gym. A couple of days ago, and there's a new show that just premiered because it's a premiere week for all of the.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So. There's a new talk show out by, I forgot her name. She's another singer, who was Simon Cowell's protege, and she was on American Idol or America's Got Talent, one of those shows, and she became who she became. I forget what her name is, but so he, was the first guest on her show, and they made a big to-do of it. And he was all excited, and all of that fun stuff that they do for television and TV, daytime TV shows. And so I thought, wow, how interesting. I thought it was fun. So when you said debut for your new show,
debut for season 3, it's crazy. It's actually happening.
I had a flashback of watching. I was sitting there going, oh, "How strange!" Simon, Simon's changed so much over the years. Now he
really has, hasn't he?
Being the first guest on this particular show. Yeah, he really has. That's what happens when you have children. It mellows you out.
Right. And fall off a bike. Did he fall off a bike one time? And like all kinds of there was all kinds of crazy stuff with Simon.
Very accident prone. He's always breaking, falling off bikes or wave runners or some crazy stuff.
Right. Now, I actually just like my little Simon Cowell connection is I was actually Ryan Seacrest's producer back when he was in San Francisco for about a year or so when he was doing radio up here.
Yeah.
Awesome guy, like totally cool, totally hardworking, totally like just always out there doing his thing, like never stopped working unless he was eating. He eats a lot. I'm going to reveal that little secret. Really? He does. When he has dinner, it's like 2 meals. He orders 2 meals at dinner. It's like crazy. Like, I'm like, okay, I don't know how, like 2 entrees. I'm like, how do you do that? He was in training and, doing all this stuff, and he would only eat during certain times of the day. It was like, I don't know what he was doing. But we didn't come out here to talk about those people from American Idol. Instead, we came to talk about hypnotism. So I cover a lot of topics on this show. This is one, and the reason why it really, I wanted to make this like the season 3 debut is because this is one that has been on my list since I started this podcast. So I'm like, I don't know, 60 or 70 episodes in, and I haven't gotten to it yet because I'm going to go ahead and say, because I didn't find you yet. I mean, come on, hypnotist.com. Like you're the guy, right?
I'm the guy. I'm the one.
Hollywood Hypnotist. Now, how do you get that title?
Well, that's an interesting story all within itself. Back in the I've been doing this for 30 years now. Well, going on 30. That's how long
30
I've
years.
been doing this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I even have to reflect back myself because it all seems like yesterday. And
Right.
when you
Yeah.
love what you do and you're passionate about it, every day is a fun day. It's not work. It's
Hmm.
you just show up and you do what you do. And my passion is helping people help themselves. There's a lot of aspects to the work that I do, which I'm sure we're going to get into, the entertainment side, but the clinical side as well is very important. And so uh, back in the day when Jay Leno was on his TV talk show,
Hmm.
he had a particular individual on there that I had that was one of my patients, and they stopped smoking through me. And all of my sessions are just like every other traditional psychology or therapy. It's confidential, and so I don't talk about it. There's no, I keep the protocol and the etiquette of
Hmm.
what that is because I'm a board certified hypnotherapist. Anyway, long story short, he this particular celebrity goes on Leno, basically says, I stopped smoking through that hypnotist, Kevin Stone, and that led into an explosion of all kinds of media contacting me at that point because this particular individual is pretty well known. And what ended up happening was Access Hollywood called me in to talk about that
Right. Right.
that particular celebrity
Okay.
and hypnotizing and stopping smoking. And they had some people on their staff who wanted to stop smoking, so they wanted to do all of this live. If you remember Access Hollywood back in the day, it wasn't
Oh
so
yeah.
canned or scripted. It was
Right.
more
So
of an open
super
format.
produced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so I went in and we did a full, which you can go see on, my website and YouTube channels, the interview. And they basically dubbed me the Hollywood hypnotist because they found out about my work with celebrities, major sports figures, heads of state, and just very powerful, important people. And that was that hidden little secret that they all had until this particular moment. And then, of course, that's how it all became, of how I became the Hollywood hypnotist. So it wasn't a self-imposed thing. It was they kind of dubbing me, with that
Okay.
honor of, hey, you're that guy, aren't you? You're the guy everyone talks about that we never knew about. uh, so that's how it all became. And so I liked it at the time. Some people on my team thought it was a little bit hokey, but we just kind of stuck with it because in show business there's an old Barnum statement where he says with marketing, just make sure you get the name spelt right. But nobody really remembers your name. They remember these monikers or these little things that
Right.
are attached to what it is. So do people really remember my name? No, they just remember me as the Hollywood hypnotist guy.
Right. Right.
And that's fine with me, as long as, again, they get it spelt right and they understand what my passion and what my work is to, facilitate helping them to achieve their ultimate goals.
Nice. Now, I'm not going to ask you which celebrities. I'll respect that. But how many people have you hypnotized over the years?
Whew,
30 years. That's a lot of people.
over a million,
Over a
easily.
million.
Oh,
Oh my,
absolutely, because I'm
wow.
global. I'm global.
Oh, geez.
And
Now,
so,
is
yeah.
this all face to face? You're like actually having an appointment with him? I mean, I don't know. Is there a hypnotist over Zoom? Like,
Yeah, I was going to tell you, with the advent of technology, and I'll tell you that a little bit. I kind of pioneered a lot of things that were poo-pooed by my colleagues, adversaries. I was just not doing what, again, I wasn't falling into line of playing by the rules of what they deemed to be the rules. And so as I became who I was and the notoriety and my success rate, of course, there's more demand. So it's supply demand, right?
hmm.
So for me, I had to devise ways of, oh, I'm getting calls from Italy. I'm getting calls from Japan. I'm getting calls from people all over the globe seeking out my services to improve their lifestyles, right? So with the advent of technology, the computer system, all this stuff, I pioneered all of that a good
Nice.
15 years ago.
You were ahead of the pandemic.
I was, and then
Yeah.
here's the irony that happens with that. So I pioneered all that, and I still do it to this day because it saves time.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Sometimes there's a challenge with the 12-hour time change, like in Australia or India, but we make it work. And so we get up on a Zoom or a Skype or kind of like what we're doing now, and we basically are able to facilitate the session. Which now, when the pandemic hit, everyone was looking to me like, how do we do this? We can't see patients. How do we do it? So now they have a terminology for it, and now most people are doing it, still doing it that way, because they find it's more cost effective. It's quicker,
Hmm.
it's more efficient, and so it's now become protocol as
Nice.
opposed to poo pooed and why are you doing this, and this is what you shouldn't be doing. And so I became a consultant during the pandemic and still am for many medical facilities, and many people seeking out how to see their patients and their clients in different ways that will help their businesses and to help the people who are seeking them out. So that's the irony in what
Nice.
ended up happening. It's kind of
Yeah.
it's kind of funny, fast forwarding after all those years of persecution.
This sounds like this question sounds like it's like a Saturday Night Live bit or something. But are you ever concerned that you're putting somebody under in hypnosis, like on Zoom, and the connection just dies? And like what
Yeah,
happens?
that's a great question. And here's the joke that goes with that, because people have that fear and that stigma that
Uh huh.
I've always been battling as long as I've been doing this, and that's fine. It's going to be there forever because Hollywood sensationalizes this modality. It's a natural, organic process, but they sensationalize it in the movies and even the recent movies. And every movie you ever see, is somebody who has this power over this other individual, and it's always like evil. It's used for evil, and it's never for good, and all of these stereotypical things. And
Hmm.
again, I get all of that, and it's fine. But when people really want to understand what it is, so the joke basically is hey, if you hypnotize me and then you drop dead, what's going to happen to me?
Right. What happens? The o- the only the only thing that I've ever the only okay, so I guess like the county fairs or something, right? Like you go to a
Yeah,
county fair and you see a show, and they'll
yeah,
like generally have like one of the shows is a hypnotist show. I
right,
remember there was one that I went to. The guy was hilarious. Like he was making let him cluck like a chicken and do all these silly things, right?
yeah,
And I think that that's what a lot of people think that this is just that, right? It's more of like the entertainment type of thing.
right,
You're
yeah,
talking also clinical because you mentioned stopping smoking. Like,
yeah.
what else can hypnotism help people with?
Well, many things. Again, I'm board certified, and so I'm on staff over at Weiss Memorial, Cedar Sinai, and with White's Memorial. I started with them back in the '90s with pain management, TMJ, and dental kind of issues because people have fear of needles.
Really?
You have TMJ is a lot of pain in the jaw,
Hmm. Yeah.
uh, and so my specialty became pain for a while, among many other things. You see, this is again. Let's get back to the joke of hey, if you just kind of, and actually, there's a movie that I'm not sure if it's The Office or Night at
So,
Bernie's or something like that,
okay.
where the hypnotist, where they go and they get hypnotized for some reason, and the hypnotist basically dies right there in the
Oh, you know
session.
what? I think I remember that. Yeah,
Is it
it's
Bernie's or
yeah.
I can't
So,
remember. But
yeah, there's something like that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's hilarious. To me, it's hilarious.
Oh, right.
And then Adam Sandler came out with something on one of his records back in the day, at his height of when he did Hanukkah and all of that. On
Hmm.
the same record, he did he did a hypnosis session with him and another comedian, and it's hysterical. And you got to just appreciate it from my point of view. Other
Oh,
people
yeah.
probably take it a little too seriously, but it's all in jest. But uh, let's get back to the joke because the joke kind of falls in line with what the other question you're asking is, what can you do in hypnosis? Well, most people just think it's stop smoking and lose weight. And now,
Mm.
admittedly, I started my career that way. I mean, that's how I started out, just like everybody else. Because why fight the tide? I didn't want to swim upstream. Was swimming with the stream to start my private practice to make a living off of this. And so smoking and weight is what everybody understood. So that's how I started. But it evolved into what it is today. And basically, here's the great news: anything that you want to change in your life, and that's a variation of things, right? And life is cyclical. So there's always going to be changes, and you always need the tools to do that. Unfortunately, in our world, in our society, we're not really taught those basic tools. And hypnosis is that tool. It's a natural, organic process. So again, back to the joke. If I pass out, die while you're in a hypnotic state, you're basically just going to come out of the state as if you were coming out of a natural sleep state. Just like when you
Mm.
wake up in the morning, it's the same process. So it's not the hypnotist who has control. What's really happening is you're in full control. The hypnotist is a guide, is a facilitator, guiding you through a process that you have a good rapport and trust that is going to guide you where you need to go and basically reprogram your subconscious mind. So it's like a
Mm.
computer system. Your subconscious mind is 88% of your brain's capacity. Your conscious mind, which everyone's listening to with right now, is your conscious mind, which is 12% of your brain's capacity. So you can already see what part of the brain is dominant, right? 88 subconscious.
Mhm.
So all information is stored into that subconscious mind. The hypnotist, basically, with your permission, goes into your subconscious mind and basically reprograms your computer to do what it is that you want it to do, that you find challenging, that you're not able to do. And it's really that simple. There's no complex system. There's no hocus pocus. I don't get any voodoo dust sprinkled on you. We don't do any fire dances. None of this stuff takes place. You see it all in the movies,
Right.
cartoons, all of this nonsense. And again, they're just sensationalizing it to be what it isn't, and really confusing people. But once you
Mhm.
understand that all of us go in and out of hypnosis 1,000 times a day, some natural state it is, then you understand, well, hey, whoa, wait a minute. How do I harness this power? How do I harness this to change my life? Let's say stop smoking, or addiction, or weight, or pain, or who knows? For me in the
Mhm.
beginning, I was a nail biter. I used to bite my
Mm.
nails.
Mhm.
And I didn't know how to stop. They had at the time, and I'm sure they still do. They had like a cream, and then there's a liquid,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
all these things, and none of it worked. And so when I really got into this, because I went to college for this, and it was really fascinating to me. And I thought, wow, okay, I had a lot of reservations, so I get what it's like to be on the other side of this, because I came from that. I came from New England, a very conservative place to be. My thinking and everything was just so structured. So when I decided to start learning about hypnotism, my family basically wanted to disown me. All my friends were like, "You're crazy." And again, I got that whole pushback of, "What are you doing?" And of course, now who I am, now all of a sudden everybody wants to be your friend, right? And borrow money.
Right. Right. So, okay, I wrote down like 10 questions. So
Sure.
please excuse me. This is going to be a long interview for you, but
All right.
so okay, so you went to college for this. Well,
Yes.
I didn't even know there was classes for this. Is
Oh
that how
yeah.
you learned this?
Well, back in the day, it was there wasn't many places to learn this. Again, it was taboo. It was
Uh-huh.
kind of like underground stuff, and people who were using it were always bad people, like Jim Jones, David Koresh, and all these people. Blah blah blah. And so, yeah, there's a college. There's a college in Tarzana, California, and they actually offered college credit to do this. and they were one of the most reputable schools. There was a couple of schools. There was another one in Glendale, and I found the one that was right for me, and it was that one because it was more clinical, and they really kind of taught a structured program, and I felt that it was more suited for me. Just like anybody else goes to any other schooling program, you have to find the school that's right for you. Just because Pepperdine
Right.
is you can come in on a scholarship doesn't mean you should go.
Right.
It's got to be
Yeah.
right for you to be able to be successful. So basically, that's how it worked for me. It was a 2-year program. I was fascinated by it, but I went in with a lot of reservation, just like anybody else listening to this program or trying to understand the applications of hypnosis and hypnotherapy. And what made me really, my turning point was basically a field trip over to Cedars-Sinai. And we all went in, and I was the guy, I was there for the college credit, but I also wanted to learn how to do it because I thought it was fascinating. There's a lot of different things, again, I was younger man back then. I was a little more immature, and I was that guy. Me and another guy, we were those guys in the class clowns sitting in the back, thinking, yeah, whatever. We're all here for the.
Right.
There's a lot of people listening who can relate to that.
Few things, yeah.
So we're just, we're just there for the credits and learning how to do this to, hypnotize girls, basically, and that was it. So we go on this field trip and like, yeah, whatever. So we were told that there was this famous opera singer who was going to be hypnotized to have a baby under C-section.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we said the same thing. Yeah, well, whatever. Sure, we'll go.
Okay.
That's part of the class. We have to stay in the class. We'll go, whatever. So we go, and we're behind this two-way mirror, like in the police departments, all that kind of thing. And so she knew we were there. Everything was disclosed, but she couldn't see us, but we could see her. So again, she was this famous opera singer from Italy. She basically we were told that she had already had 6 sessions prior to this, what's about to happen, if it was going to happen. And if she felt any discomfort or pain, all she was supposed to do was let out an opera note or raise her hand, and they would stop and give her the epidural and give her drugs and do it the way that is traditional, right?
Okay.
So we're like, yeah, okay, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The doctor comes in within a couple of minutes. Boom, she's in hypnosis, just like you see on TV and in the movies or in a stage show, like you did at the fair and all of that. She's in this hypnotic state. We're like, yeah, whatever, giggling, laughing in the back. We're being told to be quiet and, be respectful and pay attention, all of it. And so long story short, she basically she's not ready to have this baby. So the baby's coming. They do the C-section. There she is, just lying there, dead weight. Doesn't let out a note, doesn't let out a sound, nothing. Has the baby. And that's it. They take her away. And from that point, that was my turning point. And I thought, whoa, that's pretty intense thing to watch. A lot of going on there. Women know this. And
talk about a lot of pain. Yes.
Yeah. And I thought, wow, this stuff must be that powerful. So I started we had practice sessions on every Saturday with our groups to practice on each other doing hypnosis. So my first things were, of course, biting my nails because I was getting into my
taken care of. Yeah.
Yeah, I was getting into it being a mature male at that point. And I'm thinking, wow, I still am biting my nails. That's kind of silly, right? So that was the first thing I changed, was that. And then, of course, I went on to make many other changes, and here I am today. So that's how that all kind of worked out for me as to how my turning points were in understanding this and really taking it seriously and understanding that it is a very powerful resource. It's a natural organic tool, and why not plug into it because it's free, and we're doing it all day long anyway. So common forms of hypnosis, driving down the freeway or highway, arm out the window, your hair's blowing in the wind, you listen to this program or you listen to some music and you're just driving along. You realize you missed your exit, 3 exits back somewhere, right?
I've been there. Yeah.
That's hypnosis. Watching a good movie. Had a great conversation with James Cameron about that, how he was a hypnotist. We'll talk about that if we have time later. Watching a good movie, reading a good book. You're sitting in class, not paying attention to the instructor, just kind of zoning out, right? Daydreaming, That's all hypnosis. That's the state. That's
Hmm.
what it is. That's how natural it is. So why not harness that power and utilize it for yourself to change the negatives into positives in your life?
You know, I've seen it where people can go under, like, like in these, again, I'm going back to the stage show.
Yeah.
But you have 20 people up there, 10 people up there,
Right.
whatever. And there's
Yeah.
some that just can't get into it. Right.
No.
And you kind of pull those people down because
Right.
it's not working for them.
Right.
Why does it work for some and not for others?
Well, it's so simple. Some people can't, I mean, even in real life, just normal life, they can't focus. They can't concentrate. They get distracted. Squirrel.
Right.
They're talking to you. I was like, squirrel. I'm sure in a lot of the interviews you've done, you're kind of going in a direction, and all of a sudden they're going in another direction. So,
I've been there. Yeah.
so
A lot of
people
editing.
in general, our behavior, a lot of people don't know how to focus or concentrate, or they also have the stigma of what they think they know this is. And so when they start to feel the relaxation from a hypnotic state, it freaks them out.
Right. So
So,
that they get a little scared. They don't
yep,
want to go under.
yep,
They're afraid of
yep.
whatever's going to happen.
And so they pull out,
Huh.
basically. Yeah, they freak out, and they that's it. They won't do it.
So
Uh,
seeing that on stage, does that happen in like the one-on-one, like the clinical type stuff as well?
no, no. Well, yes and no. I'll give you the simple answers. The yes is because people have good intent and they know what they're going to do, and they basically know who they're calling and what's about to happen. But when they really get down to it, how can I explain this metaphorically? So it's kind of like you get invited to a pool party, and then you can't swim, but everybody just jumped into the pool, and now you're the only one who hasn't jumped in the pool, and you're
Hmm.
sitting on the outside of the pool, and they're all encouraging you to go in. You're like, oh no, I'm good, I'm good. I'm just gonna hang out here, and then you start putting your toe in the pool, right, just to feel it
Hmm.
out. The next thing you know, you're in the pool, and then you're enjoying it. So it's the
Right.
same thing with, oh my gosh, I'm going to be hypnotized. I don't know what that's going to feel like. So our critical factor starts firing off, and it says it's like a smoke alarm. It basically says danger, danger, danger. Will Rogers, you shouldn't be doing this when really you should. And when you do it, you realize I should have did all that in the first place and removed my fear and my critical factor and just allowed myself to trust what was really happening.
Let's talk about the ethics of this. So you mentioned earlier, oh, I don't want to hypnotize girls, or you mentioned Jim Jones, and
Yeah,
like these people. There's people out there that would definitely use this for bad, for evil, for
absolutely.
not ethical reasons.
Right.
Like, how do you mentioned kind of not getting into it in a clinical session, like people can kind of, the dipping the toe in the water. Well, what if you get in the pool and you're drowning, I mean, like, let's talk about those instances
Yeah.
where maybe somebody is trying to do this to you for like a non-ethical reason. Like, what happens there? Like, can you pull yourself out of this?
Absolutely, positively. That's the great thing of once you understand the process, now you realize that all hypnosis is self hypnosis. So therefore, you're controlling it all and not allowing it to control you. And here's the crazy thing, this is going to blow your minds. Again, we're under it all day long. This is why you wear the different types of clothing you wear, jewelry, sneakers, jeans, because you're suspect to the commercialism that they're utilizing the power of suggestibility in. Now,
Hmm.
remember, all advertisers do it. Political figures utilize it. There's a big deal with Obama back in that administration as to how he understood the power of it and was utilizing it in his speeches and what he did. He's not the only one. There's several. And remember, I'm a consultant, so I'm kind of dropping hints here a little bit as to some of the people that I work with have been to understand the
Okay.
natural resource to understand the power of a natural organic state. And like anything else, my friends, it can be used for evil or good. That's just how life works.
Mm-hmm.
This podcast that you're doing, I researched it to make sure it was in alignment with what my message was going to be and put out in a positive way, but also, again, show both sides of what we're doing, but again, give the information in a proper way. but you can be using this podcast for evil and sending messages to people to, have anarchy and whatever. And so everything in life can be used for good or bad. And
Right.
so, when it comes to hypnosis, of course, again, the stigma is because Hollywood, since the inception of making movies, has put that evilness to. It sells movies because people want to see that.
Right.
Even the
Yeah,
current
totally.
movies, with Get
Totally.
Out and all of that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, they put it there because, again, it makes people think you want to go see it, but then you never take it any steps further to really understand it and why it's
Right.
happening that way. So everyone's a hypnotist, really, quite frankly. You're a hypnotist because you have this podcast and you have a lot of listeners who listen and they tune in. I guess it's weekly or daily or however many days you're doing this because they enjoy what your format is. They enjoy
Hmm.
your voice, the way you're doing it, and they enjoy what's really happening. These are things on a subconscious level they don't even realize that I'm pointing out.
Right.
So, are you
Right.
really a hypnotist? Yes, you are, because you're
Hmm.
doing things naturally and organically that you don't even understand what you're doing. But if you do understand what you're doing, then you can start to sway the country as a politician, or as a uh,
A
a
marketer.
marketer for a major
Yeah.
company. You can
Yeah.
understand how to influence people to buy your product.
Where is the line between marketing and hypnotism? Like, where do you see that line?
I think the line is extremely blurred, and I think that major mass companies understand it and they utilize it. They've been utilizing it for years. Back in the 70s, there's many books written about the subliminal suggestions,
Yeah.
not
Right.
only in advertising, but in music. 70s was a big
Hmm.
deal with subliminals and
Oh
and
yeah.
power.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and so there's all kinds of laws put in place and all kinds of things, backwards messages on the Beatles albums and all this stuff. But advertisers used it, and they do it still today because they appeal to the senses of what our human condition is. And so it's happening. You don't even realize it's happening.
Hmm. And that's where, like people have talked about like the CIA doing stuff or,
Right.
whatever, like the government's doing things to
Right.
motivate people to do, whatever. Is that hypnotism or
Absolutely.
is that a form
Absolutely.
of it? Yeah.
We want to see a powerful movie. Watch The Manchurian Candidate.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's based on
Hmm.
a lot of factual things. Of course, it's a movie, so it's sensationalized, dramatized, but that's factual. That's how they used to program for the Vietnam War. Again, it's so simple. Sleep deprivation was how the Vietnamese would take the Americans, throw them in a hole, put water up to their neck, and have sleep deprivation to be able to program them to do exactly what they wanted to do.
Right.
Call it hypnosis. Okay. It's sleep deprivation, which is actually the reason why they ended up following orders and doing things that they shouldn't have been doing because they understood the power of doing it. So all of this falls under the umbrella of hypnosis, the word hypnosis. And
Mm.
actually, it doesn't, but okay. In our world, that's how we interpret it.
Right. Wow. And so you do, okay, so you do the clinical side, but you also have, I saw some like power programs that are available, which I get, is that a form of self hypnosis? Is this like people are listening to audio? How do the power programs work?
Power programs are very, very extremely. I mean, I spent years putting them together before I released them because I wanted them to be very 100%, close to 100%. Now, nothing's 100% in life, and anybody who ever tells you that, they're lying to you.
Yeah.
Um, so they're pretty darn close to perfection of what they could be. And so it took me a long time to release them. And basically, yeah, it's like a one-on-one session with me as if I was in the room.
Oh, okay.
So they listen to the program and they basically allow themselves to go through their process. I hypnotize them. I give them suggestions to lose weight, smoking, or whatever the program happens to be, empowerment. Uh, and it's a cost effective way. It's something that I also wanted to do because look, come to see somebody like me, I mean, I try to keep my prices affordable. Even my prices are still affordable to this day, and I get a lot of grief for it from my team and from a lot of other people. Even when people call me and go, "Wow, my other therapist is double what you charge. You're the guy." And I go, "Look, I'm not in it. I mean, I'm here. I'm in it to make a living. I need to make a living. To put food on my table like anybody else. But my passion and my mission statement has always been the same. My passion is to help people to help themselves. And whatever tools that I've learned along the way, I'm going to incorporate that into my sessions or when you meet me. So my power programming systems are the same thing. And it's more cost effective because a lot of people can't afford the session fee or the multiple session fee. So you get the power programming system and it's a little bit more cost effective and you're going to get pretty much the same thing.
Gotcha. Now, okay, so somebody buy like, and you know, I like to play the both sides of the card here, right? Like, let's talk about exactly. Let's look at this other side of, okay, somebody spends, you know, I don't know how much these are, but let's say somebody spends, you know, a little bit of money for one of these sessions. How do they know that anything's happening? How do they see the results? How do they know that something is actually taking place in their life or changing in their life? Like, how do they know this?
Oh, you will. Yeah. Let's take the basics for again. And I hate to keep talking about the basics because then it's like I'm promoting again. Oh, hypnotists are only known for smoking and weight. But to keep things simple and to have everyone understand how it basically works, we'll talk about smoking, right?
Okay.
So when you start and look, smokers understand this, you know, and how hard it can become to break that addiction because they're not just addicted to smoking. There's nicotine. There's all kinds of chemicals that they're addicted to in that cigarette. Caffeine's in the cigarette. There's a lot of stuff going on, and so they understand that when they try to stop by their own willpower, that it's impossible. So they need something to do it. So there's the gum, there's the pill, there's the needle, there's all these great things on the market. Do they all work? Sure, they all work temporarily. What you got to reprogram is that computer. Just like computers we sit at every single day. It was programmed by a computer programmer, and when they crash and burn, a guy comes in, he's going to fix it. Or the mechanic. Same thing with an engine in a car. You've got to understand your brain and mind system. And so basically, once you understand how to reprogram that and you have the tools to do it, then you're able to do it.
How is it like? I'm assuming, I mean, it's going to be a little bit different for each person, right? So are you catering your clinical sessions differently per the person you're working with, and how do you do that?
Yeah, everyone responds differently, but there's a lot of similarities because we're all of human condition, right? So human condition's pretty much uniform in all cultures. So what we think sometimes, because we're arrogant and prideful in America, that, people over in another country aren't doing what we do or how we feel. They may have less opportunity than us, but we're all created the same. All human condition and behavior is the same. This goes for a remote village in Africa, tiny, restricted village, all the way to a metropolis or a city like San Francisco. And so people are the same. God created all of us pretty much the same. So human condition, human behavior varies depending on individual and personality. But in the end, once you understand it, because again, here's the thing that's so incredible. All behavior is learned behavior. So guess what? You can unlearn it.
Right.
We're not provided
you can
in our
learn not
world
to do it.
to do it. And this is one of those modalities, those tools to help you to do it. Other people seek out yoga, meditation, spirituality, all of these things, absolutely positively powerful, right? And you got to find what's right for you. So everything works, but you got to find what works for you permanently. And as far as I'm concerned, I've done everything and tried everything, tested everything, even with the hypnosis. Believe me, I was that guy in class. Not only the guy in the back with the other guys, right? But I was that guy challenging the instructor every 5 seconds because I really wanted to understand why, how, and is it permanent?
Mm-hmm.
And so I had questions, lots of questions, like the questions you have right now. There's like all the questions the listeners are conjuring up in their mind right now. Absolutely. And you should have those questions because it's a very powerful thing to know and understand and utilize in your personal life, period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say usually at about this mark, I'm like, oh, thanks for joining me. And I'm wrapping up the podcast. But I mean, come on. I've got the Hollywood Hypnotist, Kevin Stone on it's the debut episodes. And I feel like like 3 or 4 more questions for you. So I'm going to keep you a little longer
Sure.
because I got to hear about James Cameron. I got to hear about, I want to talk a little about entertainment versus clinical. And I also, here's this one. Have you ever been asked to do something that you've just like flatly said no and walked away from?
Yes. But are you sure we're not going into overtime because I have you hypnotized to do so?
Well,
Or is it your own free?
well, now you got me questioning. Maybe you do.
Because you
what we
know
need.
darn well one of your listeners is thinking that. Oh, he's got him hypnotized.
Yeah, you got me going here. I don't know. What I guess I should be asking you is can you hypnonize the listeners to become subscribers or do some reviews or something? Because that always helps.
You just did it. You just did it, my friend. And
Perfect.
Those simple suggestions you just gave are going to allow them to do what they need to do for you to continue to prosper and continue this program. That's
Man,
it.
I could totally see like I mean I've done sales and marketing in my professional career, as well as the old days of working in radio, and it's like so much that I learned in radio about promoting what's going to happen next. You say, oh, I'm going to go do this, that way they hang in during the commercial, and then you do it, and then you promise something else, and then they hang in there, and then you do that. It's promise and deliver, promise and deliver. Sometimes it's promise deliver, promise to like there's these little recipes that you do in radio, and what I've noticed is doing those things in like a sales meeting. It's the same thing. Doing those things in marketing content, it's kind of the same thing. It's like you're giving them little tidbits and making them hang in there. Like I promoted the James Cameron thing to keep people listening a little bit there. Like you do that, so I can see where learning hypnotism or learning those skills could really like help a person in like sales or marketing. So this could help people in their professional careers just by learning how to do this.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And remember, too, the key in life, and this is what we learned as humans early on, is especially in athletics, sports, or any training program, repetition. Repetition is key. Look at our military. What do they do every day? They train firefighters, people who are in those kind of professions. They do the same thing day in, day out. Why? Because when it's go time, or when the pressure and the stress is really on, they got to be able to just go what is called in the acting world rote, and so the mind automatically kicks into what is trained. And so repetition is key in everything. And so is that hypnosis? Absolutely, because it's suggestibility. So again, the basics here. Take the word hypnosis out of everything. Use the word suggestibility because it's all around us. Now, even with your spouses, think about this for a second, okay? We've talked about heads of state. We've talked about powerful people. We've talked about advertisers. We've talked about all these other influencers. And now, even today, we have eBay influencers and YouTube influencers and all these influencers. You're like, what? I mean, look, I'm a little bit older generation. And so I'm like, what? And you really understand. You look at these influencers, you see that the format is all the same. They're doing all the same. And some of them understood it, and some of them fell into it just naturally, right?
Right.
Think about this for a second. I mentioned spouse, right? Or friends. So the greatest hypnotists are each other. So whoever's closest to you is really, you're taking in that suggestion and you don't even realize it, because
Mm.
that first person you go to is your spouse. For if you when you trust and you want to get really vulnerable with them and you ask them their opinion, they give you the information, and sometimes we resist it, but in the end we probably pretty much follow along with what they're saying. Why?
Right.
Because they're like third party, but they're also loving, so you trust that.
Hmm.
So that's hypnotism in its purest form.
Wow. So, okay, that brings up the question of how do people trust you? How do they know that you're not just convincing them to do something like you keeping me longer on the show here?
Yeah.
How do we
Well,
know?
I
How do
think
we know to trust you? How do you get that to happen?
I think that comes from the hard work and the 30 years that I've been doing this. My credentials speak for themselves. The website speaks for itself.
Yeah, yeah.
People call me. Sometimes they don't end up at the website. They end up through some other resource. And I always send them to the website. And I say, look, check it out. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, that's fine. I'm not interested in working with you or in your business, because we're just, we're climbing a mountain. And so
Hmm.
you're not ready for somebody like me. So, I continuously work hard. That's why I do programs like this, my friend, to
Hmm. Hmm.
get the message out and to have people understand that, hey, even with people like me who have great success and well-known and world renowned and all these titles that have been put upon me and that I've earned throughout the years, look, I'm just another guy, just like everybody else. And again, I stick to my mission statement of helping people to help themselves. Because look, I need help too as a human. And so why not provide tools that others can rely on as well? And so that's just the basic foundation for me, and always will be the basic foundation. And so the trust factor is built in from that. When you do what is right, the rest will come. Feel
Hmm.
the dreams. I hate to
Right.
quote, but that's basically what it is. Do what you love,
Yeah.
and the rest will be. But you have to do it in sincerity. You have to do it in truth. Again, these are all the principles of biblical principles. So
Yeah.
that's a whole other story for another day. But that's where I'm grounded,
Right.
absolutely, positively. And so you follow those basic rules, and you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
The trust
Yeah.
and all
Well.
that comes about on its own. I don't have to. I
Right.
don't have to get it. You have to earn it. I truly believe I earn it, but it will come because you're
Well,
doing what is right.
well, with 1 million people in 30 years, I mean, come on.
Yeah, yeah.
People have got to trust that.
That's just a rough number. I mean, again, I get the opportunity, the luxury. Think about this too. We haven't talked about this. Tony Robbins. Now,
Hmm.
Tony's roots are in hypnotism. He doesn't tell you
Interesting.
that.
No, I
But
didn't know that.
Tony, his roots are in hypnotism, and he talks about it. He talks about NLP. He talks about a lot of other modalities and techniques. He's doing hypnotism, is what he's
Hmm.
doing. And so people always ask, "What's the difference between you and Tony?" I go, "The only difference between me and Tony is that Tony owns an island in Fiji, and I'm a guy who owns a humble home." And so
Right. Right.
it's the only difference between me and Tony. But
Yeah.
Tony's doing the same work.
Although I don't know, a home in Southern California, that might be as much as an island in Fiji.
Well, there's some people, and believe
See
me,
these prices here in California.
I couldn't agree with you more. You know it, I know it. And others who are on the outside want to come here, can't afford to come here. So to sustain and be here, we're blessed to be what it is, my friend. And
So okay,
you're in a higher market than I think I am.
yeah, it's pretty nutty up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like New York rates up there.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It is definitely crazy in the Bay Area. I at some point I got to do a podcast on that, but
Yeah.
we'll get that going. So okay, like even like Carl Jung and Freud, like they did some
Yes, they did.
hypnotism, right? So I mean, this goes back. It's got a lot of uh, famous people, that we've heard of. It's got a lot of research around it.
All right.
But there's also that, like you bring up, like the entertainment side. Like we all think of, whatever the sitcom from the 80s and the person holding a clock in front of somebody or a watch in front of somebody and swinging it back and forth and then, making them do something silly.
Yeah.
Like, how do you it's difficult to have the entertainment side and the clinical side in a way, I would assume, because it might make people shy away from maybe the clinical side, or it might make people, even though this is a great tool for them, it might make them not want to do that because of the entertainment side. Do you see that at all, or am I just being hypnotized?
Never did, quite frankly. And I always had seen it from, again, I guess I was different, and this is why I became who I am, because I've always seen things a little bit differently than what most people try to make you think, or want you to think, or want you to fit in the mold. I just never really subscribed to any of that. I understood the power as well as the negative side of comedy stage hypnotism as a marketing vehicle.
Gotcha.
Look, think about this for a second. What doctors, really advertise? Do doctors really advertise? They have shingles outside, big giant flashing signs like lawyers and all these other professions saying,
Right.
"Hey, this is what I can do for you." Do you really see a surgeon have a sign up going, "Hey, I'm the greatest surgeon in the world. Come and see me"? No.
Right.
So what is the best advertising marketing tool? You know what it
There you
is,
go.
right? What is it?
Yeah. It's
Word of mouth.
it's getting in front of people. Yeah, and word of mouth. Exactly.
Okay.
That's
So
some
for
serious
me,
viral marketing right there.
the power of getting in front of people and doing comedy stage hypnosis and showing hypnosis
Mhm.
to large or small groups, and instead of one-on-one, doing it that way. Now, there's a problem that came with that for me, because I grew up introverted, shy, and couldn't even in college, I wouldn't go to the parties or anything, because I was an introverted guy, wanted to keep to myself, and I couldn't even speak with one-on-one. I couldn't even do that. Now I get up in front of 20,000, 30,000 people, lectures, shows, whatever it is, and I'm very comfortable. But back in the day, I couldn't do that. So I had a challenge, didn't I? Because here I understood the power of the marketing, of getting the word out and the message of what I wanted to do with this modality, hypnosis, but I couldn't do it because I couldn't get up in front of people. Because the number one fear, you know what the number one fear in the world is?
It's not death. It's
Nope.
public speaking, right?
Exactly.
It's the Seinfeld joke. Most people would rather be in the coffin than doing the eulogy.
Yeah. Taxes.
Yeah.
That's another fear. But no,
that's another big one. Yeah.
Number one, public speaking. And so here you got an introvert, shy guy all his life, now understands a marketing way to get his passion out to the masses. How's he going to do that? Well, hypnosis really helped me with that, obviously. I became more confident and getting it out there. And again, it's if you have the luxury of seeing different comedy stage hypnosis people, you'll understand their rooting and where they're at. Either they're strictly performers and entertainers and possibly not that good, or you're seeing somebody who really is passionate and is going to guide that program in a way where I know for me, and again, my mission statement from the beginning, it was going to be edutainment. So it's education and entertainment at the same time. So what's the best way to get to people? Through laughter. So my programs are always, and right from the beginning, in my humble roots in a living room in a famous Hollywood party with a producer. That's a whole nother story for another day. That was my first show ever. Freaked out of my mind. But I went in with, again, my mission statement and what I wanted to do, which was to empower people through entertainment, laughter, and they would come at the end of it feeling empowered by it. Basically, Tony understood that as well. That's why Tony Robbins became Tony Robbins. He's doing the same thing. Same thing. He's just not doing it the way I'm doing. He's doing it a different way. But it's all the same.
Okay, so you used hypnotism, or you were hypnotized in order to help overcome your fear of speaking on the stage. Does that mean, like, okay, 7:00 you get hypnotized, 7:30 you're on the stage and you're feeling great? Like, how long does that take to make this happen? I'm assuming that's not the case. That's more of a, like something that would happen on Who's the Boss in the 80s. But
Yeah. Well, now that it's that quick. Yeah, I can do hypnosis under 5 minutes if I'm feeling stress or anxiety in a situation and really put myself back into balance or check.
Okay.
Athletes call it a runner's high. Everyone has a different label for it.
Hmm.
It's a zone, whatever it is you want to
Hmm.
call it. So
Hmm.
once you understand it and you practice it enough, like anything else, it becomes a known. It becomes something in your mind body system that automatically you can go to. And so back in the day, yeah, it took quite some time to get to that point. And then yeah, it's kind of hard to explain. Even entertainers and actresses and all this actors can't really describe it to you, that moment before they're going to take that stage and that curtain opens up and the light hits them. What There's a shift. It's really hard to
Yeah.
explain that shift. And again, if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
I can't even.
Yeah. I just had to do a speech, little stand up thing in front of like, I don't know, it was like three or 400 people. And yes, as soon as like I grabbed the microphone and I put the microphone in a certain spot, it's I'm on. I'm like it's a weird, like I get what you're saying, because it's kind of almost an out of body experience
Yeah.
when I'm doing these things. Or I do like improv theater, and when doing a show and there's an audience, it's so much. I'm so much better in front of the audience than I am in a classroom setting with improv, just because I have that. I fall into that stage. I don't know what that is, and I don't know how I got there, but I know exactly what you mean. And it's sort of an out of body experience where I don't know if it doesn't feel like it's me.
Right.
It's different. It's weird. Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, very hard to describe.
Yes.
Um, so okay, people are listening to this. We're they're learning about this. Who out there that's listening, should do this? Like, who are candidates for doing this?
Everybody who's willing and wanting to understand, again, a natural organic process that God provides, nature provides for us to take advantage of. Everyone. And so let me rephrase the question for you, Kevin. What is the age range of who you can hypnotize? And can you hypnotize deaf
Oh.
people, blind people? The answer is yes, 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 and yes. Because again, I'm
Hmm.
utilizing a natural organic tool, understanding the power behind it and guiding that person through the process. I can hypnotize all the way down to 5. I've done 2-year-olds with great success.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
but 5 is we'll cut it at 5, 5 years of age.
Wow.
So when parents, and if you're a parent out there, and you see your child go into this natural, relaxed, comfortable state, it boggles your mind. And parents, you know what I'm talking about. And so when they see this, they want to understand how to utilize it.
Gotcha.
I always tell them, for an extra $20,
Right.
I will go behind the bill and I'll show you all the secrets you need to know. So,
All right, we got to hear the James Cameron story. What he
oh,
he
yeah,
he's done this? Like what?
yeah, crazy, huh? So
Yeah.
I get a call from his people. They call my people. You know how it works in Hollywood.
Right. Right.
We both
Mhm.
call the people, and they come to me and they say, "Hey, listen, James Cameron is having a party. Uh, he wants you to come." Okay, well, does he want me to just show up and be part of the celebrity people, or what does he want me to do? No, no, he wants to have a show. He wants to do a comedy stage hypnosis show. I go, okay,
Okay. Cool.
sure. Where's it going to be? Oh, it's going to be in his house. Okay. So, go through all the red tape, all this to check in, all this back. Even now, today, the security is much more because of what's happened in our world. But back then, you'd still
Mhm.
think, wow, this is like, I'm trying to get into the White House. So I get there, set up everything. And now he had a lot of reservations, kind of like a lot of the questions you have. And a lot of people who I hope I answered those questions during this program who are listening to this program. He's just another guy. Again, we're all the
Mhm.
same people. We just have different talents that have been recognized, and we became who we are, right? And so he started asking me questions before the program started. Traditional stage hypnosis show, getting volunteers involved and all his guests and all of that. And he had a lot of questions about, wow, this stuff is, how does it work? And here I am trying to set up, I'm trying to do my job, what I'm getting paid to be there for. And here's James Cameron, and this was right after Titanic. This was after the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay.
James Cameron was a household name. He, this guy, you're like, holy, you're at his house. This is James Cameron, right? So he's asking me all this questions. And I'm like, James, I really need to get this set up, because if I don't get set up, I mean, we can talk all you want after I do what you brought me here for. And then I'll tell you what, after you see what I do, I guarantee you 90% of your questions are going to be answered. Is that fair? So I actually put James Cameron in check.
Nice. He just cashed in a $2 billion movie, and you're like, leave me alone, buddy.
So he's like, yeah, okay. But he was so fascinated by what was happening, right? So anyway, I do the whole thing. And again, there's his friends up there, his daughters, her daughter's friends. It's just people that they know. And when you see people that doing those things, like, again, you've managed a couple of times, you've been to the fair, and you're looking at people you may or may not, mostly probably don't know, and thinking, they're faking it, they're doing it because they want to be an actor, well, all that kind of stuff. But when you know the people, then it really boggles your mind, right? So he's watching all this with complete fascination, right? So at the end of the program, we wrap it up. And of course, after that, I've got to deal with a lot of questions from the people who are volunteers, people from the audience, because again, it triggers a lot of that fascination. It's like, whoa, because I've only seen this on TV or in the movies, and now I've seen it right live, like 5 feet away from me. I can't even believe what I've seen. So everyone has a lot of questions, right? So after I get done with all of that, now I'm exhausted pretty much, because again, you've done you've done stuff, and after you're done, you just that's it. I'm tired. I gotta go. Love to be here, but I gotta go. So he's like, I really need to talk to you. I go, okay, what's up? So basically, his questions were, how does it work? Basically, everything we covered in this program is what he asked. And here's the mind-boggling thing for him. And I already said this to you, but we kind of glossed over it. I said to him, James, do you understand the power of you being a hypnotist? And again, everyone, they turn 18 shades of white and their eyes get globed out, and they just go, what are you talking about? I'm not a hypnotist. I'm like, James Cameron, you're one of the most powerful hypnotists in the entertainment industry. Do you understand what you've created with the movie Titanic? And again, this is the height of all of that. Right. Do you understand what you've created with a movie based on factual evidence, but it's a movie that's sensationalized and dramatized, and now you got people so connected in that theater, they're walking out of the theater, they're crying, they're distraught. People who went through an experience, I don't know what, 40, 50 years ago, and they're connecting to all of that. You are a master hypnotist by what you've done on the screen and allowing people to take that journey to get to the end result. And of course, for you, it was millions of billions of dollars, notoriety, but people walking out of there were getting something from it on an emotional level. That is the power of suggestibility and being a pure, natural hypnotist and not even understanding your own power.
Right.
And that just blew his mind.
Yeah. It's crazy to think. I've never, like this, it's kind of blowing my mind too. Earlier when we talked about, this is basically, there's a blurred line between hypnotism and marketing. Like I never thought about that, but when you say it, and like, me telling people to subscribe, like that's, I'm doing it. Like it's very interesting to think of it in that way. It's almost like, I'll use the improv example. We get people that come into the improv class for the first time. Oh, I've never done improv. Yep. Like right now, are you using a script? No, you've done improv. Like, this is just,
Wouldn't be
this is
improv if
just
it was. I mean, it wouldn't be scripted if it was an improv.
exactly. So you've been doing this your whole life. So it's weird to think, wow, I've been doing this a lot of my life. It's pretty, it's pretty cool. I like that. I like, I mean, uh, there's something about this podcast, where there's something like about, every, I don't know, 10, 15 episodes where something, it's like, oh man, that just changes my perspective on things. Like there's something that happens. So I appreciate that happened on the first episode of this third season. And so I picked the right guy for this. Either that or you totally hypnotized me to do all of this. And I, I I don't know. Maybe you did, but no, I totally like. I'm fascinated by this conversation and this topic, and I don't think I could have had a better guest to come on and talk about this.
Well, I'm absolutely
And
humbled by your statements and your comments, and that's the whole point of this, my friend. And I truly believe that's why you do what you do, is to stimulate people
mhm.
to have a different thinking and to chase that thinking and to question it, challenge it, and utilize it. And so that's my mission statement as well. Don't believe what I'm telling you. I'm just telling you what I know from my experience and what has gotten me
Right.
to where I am at in life. And so if you see me as a successful, all of these great things that our world sees people as, then fantastic. Then model that behavior. Utilize that behavior for your own personal life to achieve the ultimate successes and potential that you can possibly do. That's what we're here for in this world, in our life. Utilize the gift of what you have and
Mhm.
empower yourself with everything you can get your hands on that is going to work for you to experience this amazing journey.
Kevin, how do people reach out to you? How do they get a hold of you? You got the power programs. Tell us about all that, because I'm sure that people after this are like, okay, we gotta talk to this guy.
Yeah. Hypnotist.com, so easy to remember. I'm going to spell it because, look, even when I put it in sometimes, I misspell it. Believe it or not, it becomes weird stuff. It just gets crazy. I should probably buy those domains as well. If I'm doing it, other people are doing it, right? So it's hypnotist.com. HYP as in Paul, NOTIST.com. So simple, so easy to remember. Go there. Not because I'm telling you to go there, because you want to.
Well, now they have to.
Yes.
Jeez.
Because on there, my friend, is like a lot of great free information, a lot of information about hypnosis. It's not just about me and my power programming and stuff about me. You're going to find a lot of great educational. My website's the same way as I do my programs. You get to go there. It's like going to the library. There's a lot of educational resources on there to empower yourself, to enlighten yourself, to understand yourself even better. And this is what I'm going to do for you, because I know we're wrapping things up, right?
Yep.
So this is what I'm going to do. When this airs, and everyone will know when that is, from the moment it airs, for 1 week, 1 week only. So take advantage and listen to my voice very carefully. I'm giving away the self-hypnosis power programming system, value $175, to everyone listening to this program for 1 week. You have to go to the website, hypnotist.com, email me, put in the subject line, you listen to this particular podcast, put in the notes, you liked it, you hated it, couldn't stand your voice, couldn't stand this podcast, you know how I felt on, whatever it is you want to say.
All those YouTube comments, right?
Yeah, exactly. Whatever it is you want to say in the notes is fine. As long as I know you came from this program, I will send you MP3 file of the programming system free, because you tuned into this program and empowered yourself by listening to just two guys having a conversation about an amazing process.
That is awesome. Thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
I do appreciate that. I'm going to go there and I'm going to do that. And I think I'm doing it of my own free will. So. I don't know. I mean, I'm a little confused on that, but yeah.
The marketing world, when anything is free, everyone wants it.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Condition.
Exactly.
Whether they want it or not, they're going for it.
Exactly. All right. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining me today. And yes, please do go check out hypnotist.com. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, guys.
And thank you for listening and subscribing to Learning More. We encourage you, and thank you for rating this podcast and sharing it with your friends. As with any podcast that covers medical or legal opinion, the information is not meant to substitute professional advice. We encourage you to consult a professional and discuss your exact needs. I invite you to check out our coming up, oh my God, I'm so excited about the podcast lineup. I'm like, I can't even, it's crazy. We're going to talk about like mental health diets, right? Like, and not just food, but like your whole body, like what food is doing to your body, and then other things that you can do within that diet, like yoga, things like that. Like, we've got an interview about that. It's fantastic. We've got, I don't know, there's so much stuff. I'd love to tell you about it, but instead go check out the website, learningmorepodcast.com. There's going to be some information on there. Follow us on social media, and please do, like I said, listen and subscribe each week to Learning More. We got new episodes coming out each week. And again, thank you for all of those that subscribed over the summer. Fantastic. I was like so excited to come back and see the numbers and how much they increased. So I really do appreciate all of you, and thank you so much. Again, thank you for listening and subscribing to Learning More. I'm Russ, and I look forward to learning more with you next time.